Okay, so a Java operating system, an operating system written completely in Java. Is that possible? Is that likely? Is that doable? Okay, and if it could be done, what sort of performance would you get? Okay, so today we're looking at an operating system called JX, and it's touted as being the Java operating system. And this video consists of 3 parts. So there's an overview, and then I'll set up and run it in VirtualBox, and then we'll look at the nitty-gritty. Okay, whether the claims stand up, whether it lives up to the hype, whether what it claims is true or not. Okay, and so it's 3 parts. So part 1, just a quick overview. Okay, so an OS written in Java. For decades, people have been saying that Java is not suitable for writing operating systems and cannot be used to develop operating systems. Several projects on the internet are now claiming to have created operating systems in Java. And in this video, we take a look at JX, the Java operating system. And there's the web link, also in the description. A lot of people are getting really excited about JX. Okay, and I've seen some videos on YouTube lately where people are getting really excited about it. Does it live up to the hype? Okay, so here's the main web page that I've visited. And so it's a Java operating system. It's a set of Java components executing the JX core. And it's responsible for system initialization. The system runs either on off-the-shelf hardware like a 486 or a Pentium or embedded PCs and so on. And it can access IDE disks. It can access network cards and video cards and that sort of stuff, or supports those. And so it's free and open source. It's flexible. It's fast. It claims to be an operating system, but is it really? And if it is an operating system, is it complete? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Some history there on the history page. So it started development around about 1996. That was back when Java was really slow. So they were brave to start back then. Well, that was, yeah, okay. And its last updates were about 2003. Okay, so there's been nothing updated really since 2003. It's mainly a research operating system, so there's a lot of publications here, and there's conference proceedings and so on as well. So it's mainly a research project. Let's put it that way, a research project. Okay, so the idea of the project is to explore operating systems, explore if they were written in Java, what would be the consequences, and just see if they can develop any parts of operating systems in Java. Okay, so it's a research project that's important to keep in mind. The aim of the project is not to replace Windows or Linux. It's just a research project. You can download the source code there. They provide the sources, so it's open source. The latest version is 0.1.1. And there's some floppy disks as well where you can download. There's actually 3 floppy disk images. And this one, the first one, is the main one. It's got a simple image and some very simple Java tutorials or Java tutorial answers, and a very simple Minesweeper clone. So not much at all. There's not much there. Okay. There's no web browser running. There's no email client. There's no word processor. There's no spreadsheet. Okay. It's a very, very basic, and it's all running on a floppy disk, so you can't expect too much. Okay. It would be great to put this on a CD or a DVD and include a bunch of extra applications with it, but they're not at that stage yet. Okay, so part 2, let's set up and run this operating system in VirtualBox. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, in this video, I'll show you how to set up this Java operating system in a virtual machine in VirtualBox. Okay, now you might have a different version of VirtualBox to me, so things might be slightly different, or you might be using VMware or some other virtual machine technology. That's fine. Just adapt what I'm showing you. It's going to be very similar to what I show you anyway. Okay, so the first thing to do is go to the Java OS website, and I'll put the link in the description. Go down to demo floppy. Okay, and you want to download the first one. There's 3 floppy disks provided there. You want to download this first one. This one's the main image, which has got a few simple applications on it. Okay, so download the floppy image. Okay, and I've downloaded it here. Okay, so there it is on my machine. It came down without the .img extension. Okay, so the first thing I did was put .img there. And that's so VirtualBox recognises it as a floppy disk, and so WinImage recognises it as a floppy disk image, and that sort of stuff. Okay. Now, if you're not seeing a .floppy.image, or if you're not seeing the .floppy or whatever, just make sure in Windows Explorer you've got the file name extensions turned on. So I'm on the View tab, and make sure you've got that checkbox there checked. Okay. If you don't have it checked, you won't see the .img. Okay. And so you don't see the last part. And if you didn't have it checked before, and before you renamed it to .img, you probably wouldn't see the .floppy. Okay, so make sure you got the file name extensions turned on. You should do that for all your Windows installs. Highly recommended. Okay, now before we go on and install this thing, let's just have a quick look. So I've just analysed it using TrID, which is a great little tool. Link in the description, and that confirms it's a generic disk image, contains a master boot record, and what it recognises is Sybase iAnywhere database files. Okay, 1.9%, and then 97% generic boot disk image. Okay, so that's all looking pretty good. I've also scanned it using VirusTotal, because you don't let anything near your computer without scanning it with VirusTotal, and I'll put a link to VirusTotal in the description as well. And this is scanned it against 60 virus scanners, and it's come up with everything's okay. No inches detected. Okay, and that's fine. So it's got a clean bill of health there. So that's another check you can do. Don't install anything on your machine until you've run it through VirusTotal. It scans against all the main virus checkers. Okay, so link in the description again. And the final check I'm going to do is check it with WinImage. Okay, so I'm going to load it into WinImage, which is the tool that should create these images, floppy disk images. And it says not an image file, okay, which is a little bit of a worry, but it just might mean it's created with another program that's not quite compatible with WinImage. Okay, even though the website over here says you can use WinImage, and it links to the tool that I've downloaded. Okay, so it says it should be able to use WinImage, but it can't. So that's a bit of a mystery, that one. And just to make sure I'm not doing something silly, that the .floppy is not confusing things, I'll copy it, and I'll get rid of the .floppy just to make sure that's not upsetting things. Okay, so I just got demo.image now, and we'll try that again with WinImage, and it still doesn't recognize it. Okay, so that's a bit of a worry, but anyway, let's press on. It might have been created with rawrite or one of those other utilities, and it's not maybe quite compatible. Okay, so here's VirtualBox, link in the description, and so I'm using version 6.1, which isn't quite the latest version, but hey, that's fine for me. So if what I show you doesn't quite match up with what you're seeing, just adapt, okay? Things might change slightly between versions of VirtualBox, or if you're using VMware or some other virtualization tool, there'll be similar sort of options, okay? So just tinker and explore. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new virtual machine, and I'm gonna call it Java OS. I'm gonna call mine OS 2 because I've got a Java OS one. I've already been tinkering and explored this. And the operating system type, I'm just gonna go down here and choose other. It's not Windows, it's not Linux, it's not Solaris, it's not BSD, it's none of those. Okay, so I'm gonna choose other. And down here, it's not DOS. We don't know what it is. So all I can do is say other unknown. Okay, so they're the two options I'm going to choose, other and other unknown. Okay, we don't know what sort of operating system it is and what sort of version of the operating system it is. Okay, and I'll go next. And 64 is fine. Yeah, 64. Give it a 512. I've got so much memory on this machine, it doesn't matter. 512 is fine. Next. Do not create a virtual hard disk. And we can't use an existing hard disk file because we're using floppy disks. So we'll go do not create a virtual hard disk. And go create. And go continue. It's saying you're about to create a new virtual machine without a hard disk. Yes, we're happy. Continue. Okay, so there it is there, Java OS 2. And what you want to do now is go into settings for this machine. So click on it and go settings. And go down to system. And you'll see there's got a floppy disk controller built in. Okay, so we can use floppy disks with this, or floppy disk images. We just need to come down here to storage. Okay, and add. Okay, so you come down here and click on the little add icon and go floppy disk. Okay, Doesn't matter what the number is, just choose whichever one of those is a floppy disk. Choose that one. And you'll see it's got a floppy disk there now. And then click the little plus icon here to add a floppy drive. And then you can just select your image. Okay. And let's remove that. Let's pretend it's not there, and we'll add it again. And I'll go add, and I'll select that image that I renamed. Okay, just so you can see I'm choosing a different one. Not attached. So I'll click that one and go choose. So now we're loading jxdemo.img, the new floppy disk image I created from the rename, and click OK. Okay. So now we've got the boot order set up to floppy disk, then optical, then hard disk. So it's going to boot off the floppy if there's one there. And in our floppy area, in our storage area, we've got a floppy disk which has got the disk in there already, disk image in there already, jxdemo.img. Yours might be jxdemo.floppy.img or whatever. Just, yep, okay. And that's good. That's all you need to do. Okay, so now the new machine's created in VirtualBox. Just double click on it and it will load the Java OS. Okay. And here it is. Now I'll tell you one thing, before you do anything, do not resize the window it's running in because it makes your mouse go crazy. Okay. So what I want to do, because I'm not recording the whole window, I'll move the window up so we can see the start menu down the bottom. And I'll click in here and that grabs your mouse now. So you've got the little tiny triangle cursor as your mouse. Okay, and your mouse can't actually leave can't leave the window now. So if you want to get your mouse back to use outside of this window, press the right control key. And it gives you the mouse pointer back, which you can use outside the window again. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Click in the window and that locks your mouse, and then you can right mouse click to release your mouse so it's not locked inside this window anymore. Okay, and things are pretty rudimentary. So there's some demos there. These are the types of demos that are included on the Oracle website. So for example, a simple list demo, where you've got lists and things, multi-selects and things. And you've got a listener window here showing you what listeners are firing. So the item state change listener is firing. This is useful information for Java programmers. Not really useful for anyone else. You've got to have fun there. The menu dialog box. So the about shows you that dialog box. It's all pretty rudimentary. You've got some applications here, or called application demos. Minesweeper, and you can play Minesweeper. Okay. So pretty basic stuff. And there's another one called Minesweep domain, whatever the difference is, I don't know. Okay, so two applications there, both Minesweeper sort of programs. Some very basic programming demos on using various components in Java. There's an image demo one as well, which shows you loading an image, creating an image and applying ground shading to it, and then resizing an image. Pretty basic stuff. Okay, there's no way to run non-Java applications that I can see. There's no way to load printer drivers or print or create PDFs or load web pages or anything like that. This is just a pretty rudimentary demo with a couple of very simple applications, Minesweeper, and a couple of simple programming tutorials, which are very basic indeed. Okay, so that's basically all it is. So let's have a look and see what happens when you boot. Let's see what those messages are created. Okay, so part 3, the nitty gritty. Does it live up to the hype? Well, what is the hype? Is it being hyped beyond what the researchers would have wanted it to be? Okay, so is JX a real complete operating system? And the $64,000 questions are: is the entire OS written in Java? Is this an entire OS or the start of an entire OS? Can it run applications other than Java applications? Can someone use it for their day-to-day work? So they're the questions I think are the $64,000 questions. To answer all those yes, then you can say yes, it's a real complete operating system. So on the web page, on their overview section of the web page, the claims to the OS are quite vague and woolly. You know, it's executing on JX core. It doesn't say what it can run. It doesn't say how it runs it. It doesn't say whether you can upload Windows applications or Java applications, or how you install new applications, or whether it can run DOS applications or anything like that. What it can run is very vague, and how you install stuff or set stuff up is very vague. All you really provided is a floppy disk and the source code, and try and work it out for yourself. So the claims to the OS are vague and woolly. It claims to be able to access and support a range of IDE hard disks and network cards and video cards and have networking, but these are all part of the Java virtual machine, the Java runtime that Oracle distribute. Okay, so I'm thinking it might have reverse engineered or redeveloped these things for their own use. So they can have a much smaller footprint, and the Java runtime's huge. It wouldn't fit on a floppy disk. It wouldn't fit on 10 floppy disks. So I'm thinking they've probably reworked or rewritten these things to have a much smaller footprint, re-engineered or reverse engineered. And so maybe they're not using much of the Java runtime at all, or maybe not using any. Okay. It claims to have included an X2 file system, a window manager, and a database system. I've not been able to verify or test this yet. I haven't been able to look at it closely enough yet. So let's look at the boot screens. Boot screens are always interesting. I like watching things boot and see what they're doing at boot up. So here's the first sort of screen. You get the VirtualBox screen. This is booting in VirtualBox as we just saw. And the first screen is it's saying grub loading stage 2, grub. And grub, anyone who knows Linux knows grub, a bootloader. And so it's using part of the Linux grub bootloader here. Okay. And here we're loading the file system XTFS2, 2FS, and it's loading ELF, multi-boot with ELF. And so it's the X2 file system is part of it's a Linux file system, and ELF's all to do with Linux as well, multi-booting with ELF and so on. So, and DFO, root DFO, it's standard Linux sort of syntax for floppy disk 0, the first floppy disk. So there's a lot of Linux looking stuff there. And on the next page, it just takes off the heading. So that's all it says. So the screen just changed 3 times. It displays those 3 messages or 3 screens I've just showed you. Okay. So in the VirtualBox boot screens, there is Linux looking stuff appearing. Okay. So if this Java operating system was written completely in Java, you wouldn't expect to see any Linux related stuff. Okay. Or if there was Linux related stuff, it would be stuff that is reproduced and working from the Java code. Okay. And this doesn't look like it is to me. As well as that, is the entire OS written in Java? And the answer to that is no. The vast majority of the code is Java. The vast majority is Java. But there's also C or C++ in there as well. And also, you don't build the application like a normal application. You compile a makefile like you do for a C project. Okay, so no, it's definitely not a normal Java application, and it's definitely not all Java. So I've taken a bit of a look at the Java source code, the Java OS source code. I've only had a quick look, but there is a folder here in JCore which is full of C code, C and the C code headers. Okay, and right down the end here there's a makefile. So, and that's not Java. So straight away we can see the entire OS isn't written in Java. So to claim it's an operating system written completely in Java is not true. Okay. And right down the end there's the makefile. Okay, and so on. Lots of strange code in there. And there's a part of the makefile, and it's very well written makefile, beautifully laid out. One of the nicest makefiles I've seen. But that's not the way you build Java applications. Okay. So, next point is this an entire OS or the start of an entire OS? Okay. And so JavaX is a research project, and the aim of the project, as with most academic activity, is to allow those involved to publish papers, attend conferences, give their research students something to research, and boost the university's research ranking. So these things are very important for a university. It's how they get their funding and how they attract the best students is by doing these sorts of things. Okay, so it's a research project, and the aim of the research project is to get publications and to get students doing research and to boost your university's ranking. Okay, and to raise the prestige of your university. Okay, so it could be the start of an entire OS, but for now, from what we've seen and from what I've seen, it feels very rudimentary. And that's not surprising for a research OS. I'm certainly not, ripping into it. It's a research OS. It's not a production-ready operating system. So it's not complete. Okay, so it's important to keep that in mind. Can it run applications other than Java applications? And for now, based on what I've found so far, the answer is no. It can only run Java applications. So this OS is not prime time ready, but I would like to explore further, add my own Java apps, the disk image and so on, maybe expand it out to a CD image and so on. There's a whole lot of stuff I could do there to do further research. But for now, from what I've seen so far, it can't run anything other than Java applications. And could someone use it for their day-to-day work? And based on what I've found so far, the answer is no. How do you install other software? There's no web browser, WordPress is a spreadsheet, no email client. So the OS is not prime time ready. But I would like to, like I keep saying, I would like to explore further, add my own Java apps, the disk image and so on, and take things further. And maybe even look at adding some features into the source code, contributing to it, trying to get the project back on track. That could be a possibility down the track. If there was a lot of rainy days and I found myself twiddling my thumbs without one of my 1,000 other projects to do. But it would be sort of fun to contribute to the project as well and see what they need to help out with. Because it seems to have just stalled, and back in 2003 or so, it seems to have stalled or stopped work. Okay, so that's it for this project. So just to summarise, it's a research project. It might be fun to have a bit of a quick play around with, but you certainly couldn't use it for your day-to-day work. And it's not ready to be rolled out to people in shops or out to the general public. It could be a good thing in the future to use as an internet kiosk sort of platform or something like that, especially if you get a web browser running. Because if you get a web browser running, then you get cloud apps running, a WordPress running in the cloud and an email client running in the cloud. So really all you need is a web browser these days. And that's probably not that far off for this thing. So, because building a web browser in Java is very easy. So that could be even something I explore. Anyway, so if you want me to explore further, please leave a comment and a like. If enough people say please do it, I might have a look into it further. Anyway, I hope this video was useful. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.